Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends. This is episode 108 of the BJJ Brick Podcast. My name is Byron, and I'm here with my buddy Gary.
How's everybody doing today?
I trust we're doing great. We probably have a few new listeners here to tune in to see what's up with our interview with Kurt Osiander. Should be an interesting time, to say the least.
Yeah, I know Byron and I are doing great. We rolled a little bit this morning and got ourselves in a 50-50 position with chin straps. So both our necks are a little bit sore today.
It wasn't the, that was kind of a weird deal. It wasn't the classical 50-50 position, but it was like an equal position. I don't know how the takedown started or whatever, but, we ended up
I've never been caught in that position.
I've never
before.
been stuck there either. I like to grab people's, chin or jaw, and it's a good handle. And I had that, and I'm laying on my back, and Gary's laying on his back with his head next to mine. We're facing, our feet are in opposite directions. And he's got my chin, I got his, and we were just stuck. We were like putting enough torque on each other's necks. We couldn't really move. And then, I tried to do some trash talking, but I couldn't even trash talk because you had my jaw was all, I couldn't open my mouth. So that's my
I did tell
plan.
Byron, the first person who gets their neck broke loses. So, we finally just stalemated and gave up.
I think I started laughing or something. I don't know. It was weird. It's a weird deal.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
Good times on the mats this morning at the open mats there. So that's good.
I was going to say, speaking of good times and open mats, trying to get your game better, check out the audiobook we have. Basically, it's a good way to support the show. It's called Your First Year in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's about 2.5 hours of really just kind of like this podcast here of Byron talking, guiding you through your first year of jiu-jitsu and helping you out with all the pitfalls and walking you through the journey. But it's only $11.99. Like I said, 2.5 hours of content. Check it out. We have a link to it in our show notes. Getting very good reviews.
Yes, we do. And if you want like a little free sample of the audiobook, you can sign up for our email list. We send out an email every Tuesday. It's got the show notes and all the details about what's happening on the podcast this week. But at the very bottom of that list, there's a link that'll take you to a Dropbox folder that has a bunch of MP3 files in there. It's stuff from us, It's got like a couple of the first chapters of the audiobook. The first chapter is finding your right gym, and then your first month in training. So those are both in there, and you can listen to those absolutely for free. And I also got a couple of like short podcasts that we may use on a rainy day, Gary. But one of them is called Breaking Your Limits, and the other one is also called Tilt, making your BJJ game more balanced. So if you want a little bit of extra BJJ Brick action, sign up for the email list, and then on Tuesday when you get the email, go to the bottom, open up that folder, and voila, more action.
Voila, it's there.
Hey, just a reminder, this is usually a family-friendly show with our language. I think we try to keep it that way. It's martial arts, and I know we have some kids listening, and we try to support that, But Kurt Osiander, I'm not going to get Kurt Osiander on here and then bleep out every time he says a bad word. That's
Kurt for you anyhow. I tell you, the first time I ever saw a Kurt Osiander video, I don't remember if it's armbar or what, but I just remember laughing. It's like, this guy's hilarious, and just F-bombs flying around all over the place. But that's Kurt for you. Everybody's a little different.
Yep, he's a bit of a wild man. So with the language, if there's children around, or if you're at work playing it on your loudspeakers, it might be time to plug in the headphones when the interview gets rolling. I think Gary and I are adults here, and we're used to colorful language, I guess. But some of the language is a little bit more colorful than one would imagine, and there's not just like the typical F word. There's also one that's kind of a derogatory term towards homosexuals. So if that's offensive, feel free to wait for next episode. We're going to be talking about this after the interview. So I think it was relevant to leave it on there so we could have a little discussion about that. And So just be forewarned. There's not just F-bombs and just your typical language. It's a little bit more out there than your typical swear words. Or
there'll be F and F-bombs. So we're dropping. It's going to be clocks away today. We're dropping them. So we're ready. I know everybody listened to our episode last week. We had a great episode with John Will, and today you're going to get a little double dose because we have our quote from John Will this week.
Never interrupt an enemy when he's making a mistake.
I like it.
So, people are on the mat, they're rolling around, your opponent's making a big mistake and you're too busy distracting him with what you're trying to do. Don't interrupt him, let him make the mistake. So chill out and let it happen.
Wow, that's awesome. And I think about my jiu-jitsu, I'm constantly making mistakes. It's just up to the person to see them and to take advantage of that.
Yes. And they may not because they're so focused on what they're trying to do. So again, it comes down to observation and relaxing and chilling out, and then you get to see lots of stuff.
Yep, that's a great quote.
Man, I really like that. Never interrupt an enemy when he is making a mistake. And I guess I never really broke it down into that. It's like you said there, you're making mistakes, but we just need to relax and see it. And instead of just being so focused on the end result, never interrupt an enemy when he's making a mistake. Awesome words of advice right there.
Yeah, that was a really fun interview. If you're new to the show, definitely go back and listen to episode 107 with John Will. It was an amazing interview. A lot of great advice for students and coaches alike. But I don't know. I think I make a lot of mistakes. I have a black belt around my waist, and I think my mistakes are. I'm constantly making mistakes that can be capitalized if you are able to see them and to move when it's time. I think that's common with most people, or does my mistake match up against your game very well? But, especially at the lower levels, there's a lot of mistakes being made.
A lot of mistakes being made there. Yep.
If white belt Gary and white belt Byron are rolling and I want to do one particular move, Gary might be handing me a different thing. So it's important to open up your eyes occasionally, look at what's being handed to you, and take the easy submission or position change or whatever you might get.
Yeah, what's being given to you. And like John says, you need to relax and just see, look at your surroundings, see what's going on. Like, what's being given to you. Take that instead of forcing the action, trying to impose your will on what you're trying to, you may have had it in your head that I'm going to finish this submission, and you're going and going and going. You're pushing against a brick wall. Sit back, relax, look what they're giving you. And a lot of times it's something else, and you need to be ready to capitalize on that. Let the enemy make the mistake.
I think a classic example would be if, back to white belt Byron and Gary here, I'm in Gary's guard, and I'm trying to punch choke Gary. So I have his same side collar, and I'm pushing that across his neck, and I'm trying to choke Gary from within his own guard. And he could fight that choke, and he could push me away, and he could try to fight my hands, or just hand me the arm bar, just take the arm bar and end it right there. So I'm clearly making a mistake doing that. So I don't know. There's a lot of mistakes to be made and capitalized on. So don't interrupt your enemy. Let him do it.
Let him do it.
So I enjoyed John Will's quote. I enjoyed his interview. So let's hop on his website and get a little article from John Will. We're getting a lot of John Will dose on this episode here today, and that's great.
The crazy thing is, me and Byron are always looking for articles for our show, and neither of us ever went to John's site. And boy, we were like a kid in a candy store, just incredible stuff there. So definitely check it out. It's going to help your game. Just checking on his blog. He's got some very good stuff there.
So he has, it's sweet because he does short little posts about, a topic or two, and it seems like he does them very regularly. So, very great resource that's out there. It's going to be, bjjaustralia.blogspot.com, or you can go to bjj.com.au and you'll find the way there. Or making this really, you try it easy or too complicated, I don't know. You go to our website and I'll put a link on the show notes.
Yeah, and then save it to your favorites. Easy way right there.
Sounds like a good plan, Gary. But this particular article or post we want to talk about is called All Roads Lead to Rome, a BJJ concept.
And is he talking about Rome, Italy, Rome, New York, Rome, Georgia?
I'm not sure which Rome. It depends on which road you're on, Gary.
Oh, okay.
But the idea that this concept he's sharing with us in this post is that if you have a position you like, I think he gave you, he had the example of crucifix. You could have 10 finishes from crucifix, but if you only have one way to get there, you're probably not going to get to use those finishes very much. So find new ways to get to your dominant positions. You need to funnel the match in a way to where your opponent ends up where you want them to end up. So if Gary has me in side control and I'm stuck on the bottom, maybe I could hip out and I could be in the crucifix position 2 moves away. If I'm past his guard, it's a move, it could be a move away. If he's in turtle, it could be a move away. So I need to find quick transitions to get to where I want to be and where I'm strong.
And I really like this approach. And he was saying he learned it from Higan Machado. And I've always kind of almost looked at it the other way. I'm always get the position and then try to find as many submissions as possible and work on those. And I'm kind of looking at it another way, and I really do like this avenue. Let's find as many possible ways to get there. Let's get one really good submission, and then once we get that one really good submission, but let's get as many ways to get to the position where I can finish, and then let's start looking at different finishes. I really like that. I'm going to start incorporating this style of teaching into my game.
Another way you can look at this is that, for an example, would be like guys who are good at leg locks. You could throw over your leg and go for that knee bar or lock up 50-50 from a lot of different positions. You're able to get there. If you're able to move much, you're not totally stuck. You're usually within a few seconds away from possibly being where you want to be. From standing, you could roll to a leg lock position, and from guard, top or bottom doesn't matter. And from side control, you could go from there from top. And if you're on the bottom of side control, if you get your hips in there and start getting your legs in, you can start attacking immediately. That's just an example, I guess. But no matter what you're trying to do, what position you're trying to get to, try to find quick avenues to get there, and it's going to help you out.
Yep, so a great article, and like we said, check out his website, his blogspot there, and I guarantee you'll get some great information and it'll help your game immediately. So check it out. We'll have a link on our show notes. Sounds good. Yep, Byron, I think it's time to get to our interview with Mr. Kurt Osiander.
Okay, we'll roll the interview, and just a heads up, colorful language ahead. He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
Ronda Rousey's mom taught him a few judo throws in exchange for some armbar tips. In the finals of his most recent tournament, he was stuck in a triangle. He managed to take a selfie and post it on Facebook before escaping. He can call an IBJJF referee anytime, day or night, to find out what condition his condition is in.
Dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. Yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast.
I pushed my soul.
Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Kurt Osiander to the BJJ Brick podcast. Kurt, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure a lot of us have learned from your teachings every week. We're excited to get to know you a little bit better and see what's going on.
Cool.
Could you just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience if they haven't heard from you or heard of you? I
am Kurt Osiander. I'm head instructor here at Ralph Gracie San Francisco Academy. I'm known because of my move of the week. exploits, and that's about it, man.
What made you start the move of the week?
My students, they were tech guys, and they just started going, "Hey, do something, and we'll film it." And I'm like, "All right." And this started a long time ago. One of my students who moved back to New York, Dimitri McKay, was, the first guy to start filming me and putting it up and putting it with some music. And he did a thing on Luke too, and then it started taking off because we do one every now and then. And we were totally just fooling around. I had no idea what was going to develop into. And then my guys that do like convention shows and product advertisement and stuff like that, they have all the cool cameras and know how to edit. And so that's when my stuff started to have better graphics and intro music and shit. And so I think that packaging made it look a little bit better. And then I got picked up by Showroll, full sponsorship and everything after starting to get a lot of attention, and that just made it snowball even more. And then Budo Jake and Budo Dave came up here and did Rolled Up, and it gained more inertia. And then Stuart came up here at Bill Thomas's request from Q5 and did a documentary, and then the rest is fucking just happened. Totally accidentally.
Well, there's a lot of people online teaching techniques. What about yours sets you apart, you think?
Maybe I'm not so serious.
Yeah.
Or I like to have a little bit more fun, and I just do what I do because I don't think that a lot of the other guys, I think their teachers were a little bit more worried about etiquette and stuff like that. So health pretty much has like a more common sense type of etiquette, and so maybe that's why I'm still a little bit wilder than the other guys.
You say etiquette like, I don't know, there's different ways to look at etiquette. You could look at the way somebody talks and the way that they act in public, or you could look at the way that they treat other people. What's important with etiquette with you?
It's all the above, but like I'm more like a common sense guy.
Yeah. So
you come in the academy, you say hi to your peers here. You say hi to your instructor. You bow on off the mat. You keep yourself clean. Your gi is clean. You respect the academy by keeping it clean and not making a mess, and stuff like that, and treat, people the way you want to be treated. It's it's so much, it's just common sense, but then there's a lot of guys that got raised by like more of a, old school where you fucking bow again, bow to me. And, it's very much more a strict environment, and there's a lot of the things here that I'm trying to do with people rather than fucking be really strict on face the wall and tie your belt, fucking stuff like that, It's not really important. More important is common sense, That's what I think a lot of society has lost touch with.
Yeah. How has that the idea of you and how you the common sense attitude of things, how has that shaped the culture of your school there?
My guys know that they can cut it up, but they know when it's serious time, and then when it's over, it's back to being in a more relaxed state. I'll tell you right now that I don't think that there's any lack of respect here. Everybody who comes here says that all my students are very nice, respectful, and train really, really hard. And so that's the best compliment I think I can get, is that they say that, man, your academy is really clean, your guys are really fucking good, and they're really nice. And they have a good experience, and they spread the word, you know. So I've only had a couple bad Yelp reviews and because of saying stuff to people that of how I feel about certain issues and things, which maybe not, you know, rub them the wrong way. So the thing is, a lot of people think, oh, everything's fucking cool. Here in San Francisco, you can pretty much fucking do anything. Doesn't mean I fucking think it's cool. And they're like, Kurt, are you sure you're from California? I'm actually a real Californian. I was born, raised here. And so there's some aspects of California, you know, a lot of guys thought, oh, Kurt's got long hair, he must be a fucking hippie. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not a fucking hippie. I fucking hate hippies. I'm a fucking hesher, man. I'm a barbarian. I don't like fucking hippies. So, one review was like, I was, how can I say, I was politically incorrect.
Yeah.
They were asking me if I had beginner classes. And I go, no, we don't do that faggot shit. And the person looked at me and was like, in shock. And I'm like, what? You know, what's the problem? You said the F word in them all. Huh? I didn't say fuck. No, you said the other word in them all. What, faggot? And needless to say, I got a bad review for that. And a phone call the next day, they wanted to talk to my boss. So I told on myself, I go, hell, hey, look, these people might call and complain because I said faggot. He's all, fuck them, goddamn faggots. And I'm like, exactly, fuck them.
So I just want to kind of just clear things up. Is there... That's not a word that people use very often. Do you have, is somebody, like, is a homosexual, can they train in your gym? Do you have a problem with them, or would you rather them train somewhere else?
You know what? My guys are funny. They're like, Kurt, you don't know. And I'm all, I don't. And just leave me in my ignorance so that I don't know. You know, it's just like, the military is doing that don't ask, don't tell, so I don't ask and don't fucking tell me. But,
okay. I kind of see where you're going on that. You mentioned you don't do beginner classes. Why is that?
Put a bunch of beginners together, they just fucking hurt each other and suck.
Yeah. That's
I believe very much so in the way that I was brought up. It's like a trickle-down effect. I was the first batch. I was in the first batch that was created here, and we were lucky because we were very few and really hardcore, and those guys all turned out very, very successful with really good jiu-jitsu teams. And so I did not want to switch to the McJitsu style, where, hey, everybody can do jiu-jitsu. I don't think that it is for everybody. I mean, I think it's great what it does for people, but it's definitely not for everybody.
Okay. I agree. Jiu-jitsu is not for everybody, but to me it seems like if a friend is interested in it, they could be an athletic person, they could be tough, and they can come in and I'm going to tell them, give it a try, you know, try it for a week or a month, and if it's not for you, you'll know it's not for you. But same thing, like kind of a nerdier kid comes in, and I'll tell them the same thing, and it could be for them. That's kind of what I've seen with jiu-jitsu. It may not be for everybody, but I can't look at somebody and tell if they're going to be able to do jiu-jitsu well or not. Does that make sense?
Totally. You don't know if the big tough guy is going to fucking come in here and bitch out and leave. And then I got a bunch of tech guys come in here and they stick it out. And after a while, they are fucking some dangerous tech guys.
Yeah, it's more of a personality thing. But when I hear that
totally
it's not for everybody.
In that.
Okay. You've done quite a bit of work with Mission 22. Could you tell me a little bit about that and what that means to you?
I think it's super cool that, well, in the beginning there, I was either going to cut my hair and join the military to get my ass out of the fire, you know, or do jiu-jitsu. either way, I ended up cutting my hair and doing something for a really long time with a lot of dedication and discipline. And what's cool is it came full circle, and those guys, they got a hold of me through friending my wife, and because I ran out of room for friends. And so they contacted, and they're like, "Hey, are you Kurt's wife?" And she's like, "Yeah." So that I got hooked up with Jeff Perez and Julia Gumper and Mission 22, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm in. I want to help these guys, and I want to do as much possible for for the American soldiers." And so, and I'm totally for that, and regardless of our policy of the United States, I'm going to support our guys that are doing the work,
So, a soldier coming home, what recommendation? Why would they want to do jiu-jitsu? How does it help them, you think?
It's basically when you come into the academy, you could have whatever kind of problems, and when you get on the mat, you better forget about all that shit. That doesn't matter, because now it's you are totally focused on yourself and what's going on, and I think that's a good distraction. I personally, the guys coming back are coming back from a state of heightened existence, and they come back to normal life, and it is boring as fuck.
Yeah.
And so I think that jiu-jitsu replaces a little bit of that for them, so that, they only have to think about the consequences on the mat rather than, dwell on the outside life of mundane existence.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a good distraction, and it could be, like you mentioned, sometimes regular life could be boring, and that's not what they're used to. So it's a good. I think it's great, and being able to exercise and to get the sense of the team there really helps out a lot too.
Yeah, you get you make a bunch of good friends and a support system, and depending on how gung ho you want to be, and if you want to train really, really hard, which usually those guys like that kind of stuff. So, everybody does jiu-jitsu for their own goals and stuff. So not everybody wants to be a maniac. Some people, I just want to train fun. Some want to get healthy, Regardless, you're going to get something out of it.
What were your main goals when you started?
I was partying too much and really fat. And I was going through a divorce, and so I needed distraction, and I had fallen away from doing sports, which I was meant to do, and got into the music scene, and then I came back to doing sports, and then that was the thing that I needed to do. Once I got into jiu-jitsu, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I fucking trained every day, all day.
What were the sports that you were into earlier when you were younger?
As soon as I was born, I was in soccer shoes, and I was playing soccer, quite high-level soccer. My dad's a soccer coach. He was the coach for the United States national team and the Olympic team for the United States, and coached a bunch of the really good professional teams here in the United States. And so I was being groomed to be a soccer player. And right there in that make or break period when you're like 20s, 19, 20, everything, I was like, hey, Dad, I'm not going to play soccer this year. I'm going to go join a speed metal band. He was not so happy.
Yeah, I could see that being who he is. So did any of your soccer experience translate over to the mats?
That was just how to train, I knew that you train a lot, you train all the time. And then that was easy. Once I got into the groove and fucking dumped all the fat off my body, I just jumped in and trained every day, all day.
If you've got a student in junior high or high school and they want to do jiu-jitsu and they kind of are considering doing a high school sport, would you recommend that, or you just think they should stay on the mat or just kind of pursue what they want?
You know, a lot of my little guys, they get into junior high and they start doing the wrestling and they fucking kill it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool because jiu-jitsu makes you good and they already had been doing jiu-jitsu for quite a while, and they go into wrestling and they win, you know, all the local everything, and they're champion of whatever, you know what I'm saying, in the area. Or they go to sections, and then some of our guys, one of our black belts, he goes, I'm going to go back to college and do wrestling. So his first year back in fucking JC, he went second in the fucking California, which is quite incredible. How you doing? That's how you doing? So yeah, you know, I tell them always to play it. Me, myself, I always wanted to play fucking American football.
Yeah, but you were kind of in the soccer crowd, huh?
I was in the soccer crowd, but I always wanted to play fucking football because that's, you know, in high school, that's what the chicks want.
So, you kind of got into MMA a little bit there. Why did you get out of doing MMA?
I was old. I wanted to keep doing it, you know. I was 46, I think, when I stopped, 47-ish. And my guys were like, keep going. And I'm like, fuck, man, I want to keep doing jiu-jitsu and training with you guys. And each year of MMA is like a dog's year. It's like, takes 7 years off your life, man. The camp is fucking just ruthless. And the damage you sustain from all the, you know, percussion, you're doing standing, you're boxing, you're doing Muay Thai and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and swimming and lifting weights and all this, all the preparation is necessary, you know, and I was just going, fuck. After 5 fights, I was like, man, I am really beat up, and I was already beat up, and I was more beat up, and I was like, man, I didn't want to go out on a loss, so I did do a Strikeforce pay-per-view, and I won, and I was like, man, should I keep going? And they're like, keep going. And I'm like, fuck that. So that's the only reason I stopped. If I was fucking, 30, I would have fucking been champion of the world. But, my student that really went the furthest was Luke Stewart. And he's notorious for being robbed for when he fought Andre Galvão. That was like the one there that would have set him up for, the top tier and everything. But after that, he was just like, fuck, man, those guys fucking robbed me. And I was like, fuck yeah, they did. And he opened up Seven Sun Tattoo and is very, very successful with his tattoo shop.
Yeah, it's sometimes the judges or the refs get involved and they kind of make things a little disappointing and hard to continue. You've started your own tournament there. How has that been going?
Everybody likes my format and everything because it's not going to be an advantage win. It's not going to be anything. You're going to fucking keep going until somebody taps. And I did one here in SF, then we went down and we did one in Los Angeles. It didn't get the turnout of the masses, the lower belts, but we did a lightweight, heavyweight tournament for brown and black belts for money, and they fucking loved the format. And then Canada had me up there for a KO finisher, and they fucking loved it. The Canadians went crazy. That's the format that everybody liked. I'm like, no, stand up, tie your belt, keep going. And then pretty soon they were getting into like the 4th or 5th round where it's like 25 minutes. And that's when you can see the guy break psychologically right there in front of you and in front of his opponent. So it was pretty fucking cool.
So that submission only style tournament, it's nice to have a couple good submissions you're going to do, but it's also required that you won't, the mental toughness and not breaking when you're exhausted or not showing that you're starting to break.
Exactly.
Is that how, if I come in your school and it's like open mat or something, do you set time limits? Do we roll for some amount of time and rotate, or do you just kind of pair up and roll, or how's it work over there?
Well, you're going to get multiple partners, and we're going to switch really quickly and continue to go until, as many rounds as we want to go. It can be like you're going to do a minimum of 6, and then, there's a lot of tournaments that are geared like that. So every 6 minutes you'll switch and get a new opponent, and you'll do 6 sixes at the very least. And then if my purple belts or my brown belts or my black belts are getting ready, all of a sudden it's going to be 6 7, 6 8, 6 10s, and then there's 3 to 4 sessions a day.
That sounds like a good way to train. If I'm watching a technique that you're teaching online, how important is it for me to try to do that technique like that day or that week in school while I'm rolling?
That's what I try to tell the guys is when you get that move like tonight, what we've been doing all week, if you can execute it when the guy knows what you're doing, because everybody's been doing it for an hour or so, then you try to execute the move and the guy's like, I know what you're trying to do, but if you can impose the movement correctly with all the technique applied to it, that's the best day to do it,
Yeah, for me, I'm not real good at remembering all the moves that I've learned over the years, but if I could manage to pull it off, I also remember it more likely, it seems like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the key, is repetition. Like right now it's 9:48, everybody's starting to show up. We're going to drill for an hour and then we're going to train a lot.
That sounds like a good day. How has Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu changed over the past 10 or so years?
Oh man, the information, like we didn't have the internet when I was white and blue belt. I remember when we got that, but we used to bootleg VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So we bootleg VH tapes from fucking Brazil, and it would show up here where we put it. It would be black and white. We thought, oh wow, they still only have black and white TVs, but it was just the current is different, And now there's so much stuff on the internet, and little kids are so fucking hip to the technology that you'll see little white belt kids doing shit that I didn't learn until I was like purple or brown belt, and they're pulling that shit off, and they do it right. So I think the next few generations of jiu-jitsu is going to be just crazy. We have like so many people here in the United States. We have excellent coaches. We have really good physical preparation. We have supplements. We have a lot of edges that are going to come into be factors in the future where, we're going to, just like everything else, man, we're going to take it over.
That sounds exciting. Do you notice that some people use the internet and they try to learn the techniques and they do it incorrectly, or they're not doing what's right for them as far as trying to do their online learning?
You have to learn everything, but you also have to have someone who knows what parts are going to fit for your game,
Yeah.
There's a bunch of pieces I got in my head. They don't fit my game, but I know who to give them to,
So if I just see somebody doing a cool move and I want to learn it and try it, it may not work for me at all, really. So
you might not have the right body type.
Yeah.
You might not have the right flexibility. You might not, there were moves that Half would teach me that I didn't even comprehend, and then all of a sudden one day I had a recall, and I'm like, fuck, now I fucking understand this move. So some things are a time thing, you weren't supposed to understand it yet, but you got to realize what your game is, or you have to be well rounded, and I think that's why it's so tough here for me to give a blue belt out.
Yeah.
So everybody always says, fuck her, how long is this guy fucking be a white belt for? Well, I don't know. That's up to him, So I'm looking for a lot of quality, in a person's game. This is not a place where you're going to just get fucking belts handed to you because of your attendance.
Is the blue belt, when you give a blue belt to somebody, is it all performance based, or is there some aspect of how they interact with their other students, or what do you look for there?
There are different guys. Like I said, there are guys that are competitive guys, and there are guys here there. So there's different blue belts. They're competition blue belt. Like everybody here, like I always say, is gonna get good. I don't care how long it takes you, but everybody's gonna get good. And definitely, competition blue belt compared to like normal house blue belt is a totally different thing.
If a student comes up to you and they're going to do the KO finisher tournament submission only, what advice would you give them if this is their first tournament?
Well, first things first, get on weight, because you don't get to cut weight. You get to weigh in and walk straight out on the mat. I always make them, diet, conditioning, and then a shit ton of jiu-jitsu,
That sounds good.
Because the days of like being like a hobby guy, hobbyist jiu-jitsu competition guys, it's coming to an end. These guys are fucking training like pros.
Yeah, I think and you mentioned that like more of the science is coming behind it with the supplements and the off the mat training and conditioning, and it's harder just to get away with being so much better at a certain level than everybody else. You got to dedicate the time. What advice would you have for a student if they're trying to develop their own game plan?
To develop themselves, first thing, everybody's got to get used to that. The training, it's like your first 6 months, it's just, your body adjusting to the percussion and the strain and stuff like that, and then after that, the little growing pains there in the beginning, then it's time to, if you're not talented, like me, I'm not talented, I just outwork talent by doing what I need to do. I still drill with these little fuckers. I'm going to go over here right now and fucking drill for an hour. My game and the shit that I like to do, and then some stuff that I don't do, but I need to know what the guy's doing to me. So yeah, the best thing is like first, lose that fucking chub, get in shape, and then start to get your head right and start to drill a lot, both sides. You got to do both sides. You can't be one-sided. And, yeah, man, all it is just time. You got to get that 10,000 hours.
When you say drill a lot, does that mean, like just we're going to drill a certain armbar today, or are we picking a position and we're working from that and drilling
Absolutely, all the aspects. You're going to do positional training. You're going to do scenario training. You are going to, hone your skills. The things that you do well, you're going to keep doing them until they are unstoppable.
That sounds like a good way to get better at jiu-jitsu. You mentioned earlier that you're sponsored. Can you mention your sponsors for me?
My sponsors are Show Your Old Kimonos, Q5 supplements, Biorhythm. Who else do I got? Scion Cars, Barbary Coast Dispensary, Strike First Supplements. Man, I got a lot of good sponsors now. Finally,
Yeah.
And that's about it, man. Oh yeah, Bauer Fine knee braces, which you can't do jiu-jitsu without if you have knee problems. And, and We Defy, Mission 22 and NorCal Fight Shop. I got some good people behind me.
Absolutely, and that's an important thing. It's not just a team there in your gym, but you have a team that's supporting you with some sponsorships, it sounds like, and that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's my sponsors usually just give me stuff, which is a big fucking help, man. Because before my little supplement output, when I was, just training hard and trying to keep up, if I was lucky, you get a T-shirt here and there. But now I get, my supplements, which I really need to recuperate. And I don't represent any companies that I don't use. A lot of people are like, yeah, it's fine. We'll sponsor you. Put this on your gi, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like your stuff. I don't use your stuff. I don't like your stuff. Right?
It doesn't have your seal of approval.
Yeah, well, I'm not just a fucking mercenary.
Yeah. That's good to know. How could somebody keep up with you and keep their eye on what you're doing?
Well, I got a new website, KurtOsiander.com, which just got put up. I guess it looks really cool. And then Move of the Week. Right now, I'm going to have a few Move of the Weeks coming out. And I did a couple Move of the Weeks for Japan when Kenya from Jiu-Jitsu Priest was here. And he's over there in Japan, so and it's really cool. I have the fan for you, and so that's the best way. You can contact me if you want to come here and train with me. You can email me at Kurt@KurtOsiander.com and Move of the Week and all that shit. And this weekend I'll be on TV, which is a trip
with Anthony Bourdain.
That's about it.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it was a trip, man. He hung out here for a long time. He's a really nice guy. He got his blue belt over there at Henzo's in New York, and he was totally legit, bro. Everybody was asking me, is he really? Oh, fuck yeah, he's really.
That's cool. Did you eat weird food with him?
Took me out to dinner at this really, really posh place where I was fish out of water, and how can I say, an environment that I'm totally not used to.
Yeah. I could see him doing that to you just to be fun.
Well, it was. So I don't know what they're going to show. I just remember the cameras being around a lot. So they're like, I wonder what Kurt said. And I'm like, fuck, I don't remember.
Well, the part that they can show, they probably will.
Yeah, I know.
The best stuff will probably be just left behind the scenes action there, probably.
We'll see.
Sometimes you'll say that you fucked up a long time ago. What does that mean?
When you let the position get to a place where there is no redemption,
It's more important to. I think a lot of times people want to learn how to get out of a submission, and it's so much easier to get out of the position first. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, everything is. You can't expect to let it get to worst case scenario and then get out.
Yeah.
It jumped an hour forward again.
All right, Kurt, anything else you want to talk about before I let you go?
Nah. I'm going to go train, man.
Cool. I'll try. Sorry for keeping you from training there. And
anytime, man. You want to give me a call anytime, just give me a call, bro.
All right. Thanks, Kurt.
Later.
Yep. Bye. I want to thank Kurt Osiander for giving us the interview and his time. He's a busy guy, and I had him. He was on Skype, and he did the video, and some of his students were messing with him throughout the interview, so he's a little distracted. But I really appreciate him giving us the time, and he's a super nice guy to work with for this. And I sent him a message. I don't know him, and he's replied within 5 minutes. He said, "F yes, wouldn't you want to do this?" And so, very nice guy to me to work with. But and I didn't bring him on the show to argue with him. So when he Gary, I think we've got to talk about it a little bit. When he mentioned when he called beginners classes, he said that those are for faggots. I guess you got to say it, and that bothered me as a person who was interviewing him, and that obviously bothered the person who he said it to when he was asked a question.
Yeah, the Yelp review. Yep.
And I think that bothered, I think, a lot of people. So I think we should address this a little bit. And I feel bad because I kind of asked him a little bit about it, but then I, moved on and talked about beginner classes and why he doesn't, like that idea. And I feel like I maybe should have went a little bit deeper and got his, a little bit more of his opinions about this. But, I don't know. It's our show and he's our guest and I didn't want to argue. We've never brought anybody on and gotten an arguments. So that's good, I think.
Well, you're getting arguments with me, Byron.
We do that. That's just us though.
Okay.
But I, to be fair to him, he's not here to talk about it anymore. And I feel like I should have asked him more about it during the interview, but I don't know. I asked him a little bit about it and I kind of got where he was going with it. And I felt like it's time to move on. I didn't want to make it about that, but now it's time to make it about that, I guess. So I think he got a little bit of his opinion out there and now I guess it's time for our opinion. And that's it's great to have everybody have their own opinion. And if you want to train with somebody, go train with that person. That's what the United States, if you don't like the way somebody feels or their opinion about something, they're entitled to that opinion and they're entitled to feel that way. And you could either support them or not. But I personally don't have a problem rolling with somebody who's a homosexual. Like it's ever been a big issue for me. But I guess I understand it if somebody does. If Kurt is nervous or not comfortable, I want Kurt to be comfortable while he rolls. If he's not comfortable with somebody, rolling with somebody who's homosexual, that itself doesn't bother me. Gary, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know if I've ever rolled with anybody that's homosexual. I probably have, and I don't think I'd care. But that's like you said earlier. This is the United States, to each their own. Some people are going to be offended by it. And we have our choice to train at that place if we're not. But I guarantee you, where Kurt has the don't ask, don't tell policy, kind of like the military. I guarantee you, he's probably rolled with a bunch of people who are homosexuals. But it'd be kind of hard to train there, because you'd really want to be up front and talk to your instructor. That would be the tough part right there. Yeah,
okay, the don't ask, don't tell thing, I guess I have a problem with that too, because I'm okay learning about the students I train with and I'm trying to help. And if they want to share something with me, I should be okay with that, unless I'm finding out that they murdered somebody in the past or they've got some, domestic violence problems or something like that. But if a student comes to me and says that is this going to be an issue, it takes a lot of courage to stand up and ask that question anyway. But, no, not to me, it's not a problem. But if they did that, or if he somehow found out, like, they don't ask, don't tell. If they find out, then what? Are you not welcome there? So, that's kind of, to me, that's not the right answer. I guess it's, he wants to be, let him just not know. And Gary, we've been training for how many years? Is it since 2002, I think, right? So, yeah. I guarantee you we've trained with some guys who are homosexuals. There's just no way to not have, we've trained with hundreds of people. So yeah. I don't care to think about it. I don't care to not think about it. It's just we have, and they didn't tell us evidently. But if they would have, I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah. And as many people as you train with, it's happened, and it's not like right off the bat we shake hands, fist bump. Hey, by the way, I'm homosexual, and hey, I hurt my knee. Watch out for that. It just doesn't happen that way. It's normally when you train with somebody, you don't get to know them right off the bat. You may know their name, you may ask them a couple basic questions, but it's going to take some time till you find out. Most people, aren't walking around with a shirt that says I'm homosexual, or it's something you're not going to tell somebody the very first time you meet them. So it takes a little bit of time, and kind of like what you said, it's always good to get to know your people, and same thing as a student. I want to be upfront with my instructor. And you don't necessarily have to be upfront. I'm just the guy. I like to get to know my instructor, and I want my instructor to get to know me. Yeah,
it goes back to, if you would listen to last week's episode about building relationships between the student and the instructor. If I feel like some of these people I've been training with for so long. If they were hiding something like that from me because they thought, if they want to not tell me, that's fine. But if they thought I wouldn't train with them because of that, I guess you could tell me now. Like it's not going to bother me. But that's to me is something that you shouldn't have to hold back. But I do understand Kurt not being. It's kind of like there are some women that don't want to roll with men. That's some women don't, and I don't try to convince them. Oh, you should totally roll with guys. It's a great training opportunity. It's like if you don't want to roll with men, or if you're a guy who doesn't want to roll with a woman, that's fine. And if you're Kurt or somebody who is not comfortable rolling with somebody who's homosexual, don't roll with I guess that's I could understand that, but to me it all kind of blows up when you throw that F-bomb out there and you call them faggots. That to me is different.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. It can totally blow up at that point. Yep. Because
that's a derogatory term towards. I mean, it's. I don't use that word. I mean, I don't have on the show here today. Not today, but on the show, I clean up my language the best I can. I try to speak with clean language.
I'm the one who cusses, so I do have to watch myself, and I'm the bad one of the group between Byron and I.
But that word, that particular F-bomb is not something that I use, and I don't really associate myself with people who do use that word. I mean, it's if I'm hanging out with somebody and they throw out an N-bomb, I'm not going to hang out with that person. Like it's not somebody who I want to hang out with. And the same thing, it's a derogatory term meant to hurt people. And even, I mean, I hate to, Kurt was such a nice guy to me and he was so outgoing and so friendly and helpful for the interview. And, I feel it's awkward to talk about this after the fact, but I didn't want to get into a massive debate. I felt like I knew where he's coming from. And he's in San Francisco of all places. So he's in a place where he gets to deal with this quite a bit, but it's that particular word does not say to me, I don't want to train with gay people. I don't like gay people almost and I can't put that word in his mouth. But if I'm Kurt and I don't have a problem with people who are homosexuals, I would stop using that word because that's what it tells everybody to me.
Yeah, you can also go the other way too, though. The nice thing about this country is you're free to be who you want to be. And Kurt's one guy. You know where you stand with Kurt. I mean, like we said, we may not agree with the words, and if I was homosexual, I'd really take it offensively. But the nice thing is the United States, we can be who we want. Kurt is, where Kurt's coming from. He's not gonna be the person he's not. And then us as people, we can choose to train in his gym, choose not to train in his gym. I mean, he's very successful. I mean, he's one of the most successful guys around, and he probably has offended more people than most people would. And he's still doing so great. It's that's the nice thing is you can make your choice. Like you said, so you don't hang out with people who necessarily use those words. If you hear words you don't like, you're not going to hang out with them. And consumers have that choice to make. And Kurt, where he's going to be at. He's not going to pull any punches. And a lot of people still, he's got a very successful school.
Yeah, I think this is. I mean, I don't know if it's a hot topic, but it's a controversial thing to some extent about being gay and on the mats, and I think I've expressed where I stand, and I to me it's a harder road because I want to help the people who
you want to help everybody who wants to train.
Yeah,
I've known you for so long, and that's what your big thing always is. And I mean, starting this podcast, you're like, hey, I want to try to help everybody, especially beginners, anybody. And you're always the guy trying to expose as many people as possible to jiu-jitsu. I mean, like today, you introduced me to Armand, and you introduced him to jiu-jitsu, and you're like the jiu-jitsu Pied Piper. I guess you're always looking, trying to spread the art of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Maybe this will make it. I feel, I tried looking briefly online about, is there some sort of a support group? If you have a passion for jiu-jitsu, you just happen to be gay, is there a group online to socialize with and to share your problems with? Cause I can't really see, I'm a straight white male, but like it's hard to get other points of view. I realize that that's a hard thing to do. So I can't really see what it's like to be a woman grappler. I can't really see what it's like to be a homosexual grappler. Like I can't. But if there's a community, maybe a Facebook page or somewhere online that you can go and communicate, and I didn't find one, and I gotta.
That could actually be. We've had women on, and it is different for women. Some people, I've heard people say, I'm really afraid to roll with women. I don't want to. And I'm the opposite. But yeah, I think it'd be great to maybe even talk to a homosexual grappler, have a homosexual grappler on the show, and just I think that'd be kind of neat just to hear other sides and opinions.
But I think I can't find a support group online that where people are meeting up and sharing their common concerns about this, and they're there for each other. That's one of the beauties of the internet, is because you might be one in a million or one in 100,000 or whatever, but if you go online, suddenly there's a lot of you, that people that have the same problems and concerns that you do. And so if maybe this is you, maybe it's time to make a Facebook page about it and try to do a little bit of build a little bit of community and support for each other, because I guarantee you there's a lot more out there, and it's time to at least I couldn't find one. Maybe there's one and I just don't know about it, and I don't know about that. But if you have something like that and you like to voice your opinions and your struggles and your difficulties you've had, we'd be happy to talk to you. And so also go this way. If you are having troubles in your own gym and you're feeling like you're in a tough spot, with this particular topic, send us an email. We'll get a hold of you, and it doesn't need to be anything on the podcast, but I'm here, and I know Gary's here to help people with jiu-jitsu. And if this is a big struggle, and it probably would be, send us an email, and we'll be happy to chat with you off the air. I mean, it doesn't need to, if you want it to be a podcast, we can try to figure out if it would be a good show. But we'll give you a little support and tell us and just be an ear to listen to, I guess. So I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling.
I like that idea. Awesome idea.
So our email is bjjbrick@gmail.com. If you want to tell us about the show, tell us we're a bunch of idiots and we didn't do a good job this show, or tell us you enjoy it and you learn a lot from the show. Or if you want to share some frustrations on the mat, bjjbrick@gmail.com, or hit us up on the Facebook page, send us a message on there. We'll be happy to chat with you and get to better know you, our friends.
Yeah. Speaking of hitting us up on the Facebook page, check us out and give us a review on iTunes. Make your review funny. We like funny reviews. Tell us what you think about us. And then send us an email, either at the bjjbrick@gmail.com or on the Facebook page, and let us know that was you. We will get you out a BJJ Brick gi patch. A small gi patch, just like our slogan there with Byron hit me in the face with a brick, which wasn't fun to film. But we will get you out a BJJ Brick gi patch. We appreciate your support.
Yeah, we had to do that picture several times because I kept missing, or there was like a glancing blow because you were choking me with the microphone cord at the time. So Gary got a little bruised up that day.
I got a little overzealous.
One more thing about the interview here. If you are in a beginner's class, that's okay. Again, it's just an opinion. Kurt has his opinion, but there's a lot of beginner classes that are run very well and that really stress the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu and will get you into a place where you're quickly understanding jiu-jitsu. You can go to the regular class and learn a week long of a particular gi choke from a position you can't get to. And eventually you'll learn jiu-jitsu. But in a beginner's class, they might show you, how to use a guard, how to get out of side control, how to get somebody off your back. Like, these are things that are okay to do in a beginner's class. Again, I'm not trying to argue with Kurt. I understand he's got a tough room of guys in there. and he likes it that way. And he likes, if you're new, you're going to get beat up for a while. And some people like that. That's how Gary and I had it. We got beat up for quite a while. But if you're in a beginner's class and you like it, keep going. I wouldn't throw the F-bomb at you.
Yeah, you're definitely going to learn stuff. So if you're, every school is different. Some schools have them, some don't. So like Byron said, if you're in a beginner's class, don't keep doing what you're doing. You're as long as you're training, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and unless you've been in the beginner's class well past time to graduate on, and you're not just helping out. So,
I spent 7 years in the beginner's class, and for the last 6 years, I was undefeated.
Gary and his reign of undefeatedness in the beginner's class, that was amazing. I was impressed by that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got a shirt that tells me I was undefeated for that many years, and I wear it everywhere. Next week, folks, do not miss it. I know you probably all have heard of her. Emily Kwok, the world champion black belt, will be on the show. A lot of people have seen her on Stephen Kesting videos. That's where I first heard of her and seen some of her videos. But she is going to be on next week, dropping knowledge, helping all of us get better. So do not miss next week's episode, Emily Kwok.
Good times as always. If you want to connect with us on social media, go for it. We got Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, basically anything else you could, Pinterest, wherever you are socially, type in BJJ Brick and see if we're there. We'd love to connect with you and get to better know our friends out there.
Yep, speaking of getting to better know our friends, if you happen to be coming through the Midwest, hitting Wichita, Kansas, drop us a line. We'd love to train with you, get on the mat, and we will not. We don't even care if you tell us your sexual preference. We'll train with you.
There we go. Just send us an email at bjjbrick@gmail.com. Let us know what days you're in town, and we'll try to get some time to train with you. That'd be good times. Gary, we've come to that portion of the show where you get a little bit nervous about your audiobook.
Oh, Byron, I never get nervous.
That's true.
Yeah, except when I'm on the mat with you.
Not today, you weren't. But nervous anyway. We were on the mat. Every week, Gary's working on a new audiobook that he seems to have no idea what it's about when I tell him the title of it. I don't know. That seems kind of weird. But Gary, are you ready to talk about your audiobook this week?
I'm ready. What do we have on my audiobook this week, Byron?
I don't know if it's audio or visual or a little movie you're doing here, but it's called 101 Places to Use the Shrimp Crawl. And can you just share maybe one or two of these 101 places where you could shrimp crawl and not be on the mat?
Well, Byron, the name says it all, the shrimp crawl. Where else am I going to do the shrimp crawl but into Red Lobster? What's my motto? Shrimping ain't easy. And every time I go to Red Lobster, I park right out front and I shrimp crawl all the way to my seat. And it draws a lot of looks, and actually 4 or 5 times some of the other patrons have paid for my meal. So it does work. Wow. Shrimping ain't easy.
The Red Lobster I've been to, I wouldn't want to lay on the floor, but I do respect this idea that you have here. Tell me, Gary, do you get unlimited shrimp?
I do in certain months, when they're running a promotion for unlimited shrimp. But most months they don't do that, so I may have to get something else.
Can you dish out unlimited shrimp crawls?
Well, the nice thing is they have shrimp cocktail year round, so I'm always getting the shrimp cocktail.
There we go. That's just one. There's 100 more places. I imagine one of them's probably the mat, but there's a lot more places.
One's Long John Silver.
Gary basically is shrimp crawling into various restaurants around the country, and he just shares his story in this book.
Yeah, one's the Tulsa Aquarium. Always shrimp into there.
Oh, the Dallas Aquarium is a really nice place.
Yep, and there's like 27 aquariums in the United States, so I go to those places.
There we go. Shrimping ain't easy, but Gary's doing it with the sharks. Oh, man. Anyway, we look forward to you getting this book out. Any idea when it's coming out?
Like most of my books, it'll probably never come out.
Just like Gary, never come out, huh?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Anyway, we're trying to keep it fun here, and I do want to thank Kurt for jumping on here and giving us the interview. I hope I wasn't too. Hope we didn't talk too much about the interview after the interview in a way that I didn't want to put opinions in. You heard the interview, so any opinions afterwards were Gary and I talking, and you got what you got from Kurt, and then we shared a little bit of our opinions. So. I don't know. Maybe we'll just move on and not have a big deal.
Yeah, awesome episode. So. We appreciate Kurt, one of the best around, coming on our show. And so, good show. And next week, like we said, we got Emily Kwok. So, two awesome. John Will the week before. Man, we just have shows get better every week.
And speaking of weeks, go check out Kurt Osiander's Move of the Week. He's putting a move out there for you, and. He's answering your questions and showing you moves.
So check it out. Kurt Osiander's Move of the Week.
But we will check you guys out next week. And, of course, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.